Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right. In this episode, we are going to give, Ryan is going to give his top 12 G5 and independent quarterbacks. We've gone through all of the Power 5 conferences already, so be sure to subscribe to our channel. Go back and watch the episodes that we've already released this week. But Ryan, or actually Trey, tee Ryan up with his
thank you.
worst quarterback. Well, actually, not his worst quarterback. His 12th best quarterback of the
really
G5
good.
and independents.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to go with Holton Ahlers of East Carolina coming in at number 12.
Yes, Holton Ahlers. So this is a guy who's had a really nice career, despite not much talent around him. He vastly improved as a passer throughout his 3 years there. His first year, completed just 48% of his passes. I was a freshman, pretty horrible. Got that up to 61% last year as a junior. 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He can run a little bit. And again, he's just been on a team that's been bad. They haven't had even a 500 year with him there, which I'm not blaming him at all because he's been kind of balling out compared to what he's got around him. So I think if you put him with some better group of players around him, he would be awesome. And so I don't think he gets enough credit nationally.
Okay, number 11, you had Jake Haener from Fresno State.
Yeah, he former transfer from UW and had a good year there at Fresno. 14 touchdowns to just 5 picks. Kind of a bounce back year for Fresno. I mean, they weren't great, but it was some solid play there from him. 65% completion percentage, and he actually had a large, pretty high yards per attempt. So, I think with Kalen DeBoer, I'm also confident their head coach there that going into their second year together, he's going to have an even better 2021. So. Good year last year, banking on even a little bit more of a jump for Jake Haener coming into year number 2 for him.
Makes sense to me. All right, we're going with another transfer. Wisconsin transfer Jack Coan to Notre Dame at number 10.
Yeah, this is a very hard one to rank within because he's a transfer and then also going to Notre Dame and mixing him up with the G5 essentially. So this is a tough one. And but putting him at 10. I mean, he obviously had a pretty good year a couple years back when he was healthy there. He had a good year for Wisconsin. Now, as is the case with in kind of the past with Wisconsin, is how much of it is really him. He was kind of more a game manager, didn't have huge explosive plays. Had a good receiver actually, but Jonathan Taylor on the ground game was just dominating. So essentially, it's just like, okay, just don't screw up, Jack Coan. But he did. He was good. He was solid. I'll give him credit because then you see. Graham Mertz this past year for Wisconsin really, really struggled. So I still think he's really good. Now, do I think he's better than some of these guys in front of him? Maybe not quite so much, and it might be a little bit tougher for him with all the first year at Notre Dame, and then of course they have a lot to replace. But 10's still pretty good, and I think he's solid game manager type quarterback.
Okay, number 9 is a guy who had a big year last year, Kaleb Eleby from Western Michigan.
Yeah, his numbers were incredible last year. One of the most efficient seasons of all time. If you just look at passing efficiency, top 10 of all time, actually. So he averaged over 11 yards per attempt. I mean, that's like Alabama good. Like, Yeah,
that's crazy.
He was amazing.
Not against an Alabama schedule, but still.
No, not quite. In 6 games, he had 18 touchdowns. So, just statistically speaking, he should probably be higher on this list. But as Michael said, it was just 6 games. It was not the strongest schedule in the world. And it was his first year as the starter. So I feel like I need to see more of him. I don't think he can replicate what those numbers were last year, but if he can get close to it, then he actually probably move up on this list because those numbers were insanely good. So we'll see, though. I mean, an incredible start for him, though.
Yes, it was. All right, number 8. Louisiana's Levi Lewis.
Levi Lewis been around for a little while now. Numbers dropped a little bit this past year, although he was still very good. He's a good runner, especially when he needs to be. He's smart with the ball. He's a proven winner. Louisiana is 21-4 the past couple years with him being the guy. So I think he's played a large role in that. Obviously, they've had some good pieces around him, but you got a quarterback that's dual threat, solid passer, takes care of the ball. I mean, it's winning. It's winning QB play. So I got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done.
Okay, number 7 is playing for the best G5 team, at least expected to be coming into the year, Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, this is kind of what we're getting into here. I think maybe Trey was mentioning this in the previous episode, or maybe it was off pod. I can't remember. We're doing a lot here.
We've recorded a lot of episodes.
There's a lot of episodes here. Trey was saying we're trying not to rank the best teams here. We're just trying to, we're trying to rank the best QBs, right? So you got to try to gauge that. And Ritter, he definitely improved as a passer last year. Increased his completion percentage by more than 10%, which staggering amount for 1 year to 1 year. I wouldn't call him an elite passer by any means, but combine his good passing now with what he does with his legs, and he's one heck of a college quarterback. He had a really good year last year. Was very smart with the ball, and put up Cincinnati in a lot of good places to win. So I can't put him. I probably wouldn't be able to put him much lower on this list, but also I just don't think he has maybe the consistency through the air to put him much higher on this list.
Yep. Number 6 is a quarterback I've kind of liked over the last couple of years, Layne Hatcher at Arkansas State.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas State's kind of had that 2 QB system, and I think a lot of folks, including probably the 2 bros with me here, probably thought this guy should have just been handed the keys. I mean, Logan Bonner was there, and he was good, but this guy was better. Statistically, he was just had a better year, and now Logan Bonner transferred to Utah State, so it is Layne's job. In the past couple of years, he was a freshman and a sophomore, and he had really good numbers. So if he improves even just a little bit, he's going to be one of the best in the country. And, surprisingly, the Arkansas State wasn't all that great. They didn't quite put together the best year last year, but it wasn't this kid's fault. This kid's been really good. I think he's going to have a huge, huge year for them.
Okay, 5th is Carson Strong from Nevada. He's been getting some NFL draft buzz. I know that's not what this list is about, but hard to ignore.
It's part of it because he's been good. He's got the size, like 6'4", I think 215. So he's got the prototypical size, got the arm. Great sophomore year. And he was, so he's got a lot of room to grow as a sophomore. Completed 70% of his passes, tough to do, 27 TDs to just 4 picks, and led Nevada to their best year since the 2010 Colin Kaepernick year. So it was a great kind of a revival, I guess, for Nevada, and he was arguably the main reason why. Great year, and I think he's going to have an even better year this year.
I can already see NFL Draft Twitter talking about his strong arm, and it's going to be very annoying.
Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
All right. Mm-hmm. Number 4, Dillon Gabriel of UCF.
Yeah, this is, I think maybe some folks might have put him higher in their G5 list than 4th. He has been great the last 2 years, 61 TDs to 11 picks, 9 yards per attempt, 10 wins a couple years ago. When he was a true freshman, mind you. But then 6-4 this past year. And, there was definitely some extenuating circumstances there with a lot of sit-outs that UCF had. There's no doubt he's been great. He's been awesome. I don't feel like maybe he has quite the type ceiling that some of the guys in front of him have because he doesn't have the great mobility. He's been a great passer. Maybe not the strongest arm in the world, but I just don't think he hit with the limit on the ground. You'll see the guys in front of him do have been pretty good on the ground. So he's really good, and I could totally understand putting him higher, but for me, I'm not there with it. So I'm comfortable with having him at 4.
All right, well, we get to the dual threats then here in the top 3. You got number 3, Dustin Crum from Kent State. This guy is so underrated. So not on your list, but nationally.
Yeah, right.
Nationally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hard to be underrated with 3.
Yeah.
He is. Pass efficiency speaking, he had the 9th best year of all time last year. It just insane. Insane numbers. I know it was only 4 games, so it doesn't really.
Yeah. and against a very easy match.
Yeah, it was and I think like Akron was one of them, and then I think another low team was one. But hey, you know what? He was awesome even the year before that. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing. It wasn't just basing this off 2020. 2019 was included. He on top of what he does through the air, which is awesome. He adds about 60 yards per game on the game on the ground. So he's a dual threat. And he was, Kent State was terrible for about a decade here. And this kid's come in and done a great job kind of turning them around and making them competitive. So he's been awesome. If you haven't seen him play, I highly encourage you to make sure you watch some action games during the middle of the week this year, because this guy is must watch.
Yeah, he's a stud. Now an Auburn transfer to Liberty, had a great year last year, Malik Willis.
Yeah, what an electric year he had. Capped it off with a thrilling 3-point victory over Coastal Carolina. Oof. So just kind of
wow,
that was pretty amazing. 34 total touchdowns, nearly 1,000 yards rushing, 8.5 yards per pass attempt to just 6 picks. I mean, he carried them. He was just so good. Just an electric player, just a total playmaker, right? I mean, he was so hard to defend. So, I mean, I'm interested to see if they just had his win above replacement. I think would just had to have been great, because I just thought he carried that group. So, I have no problem putting him at 2.
Okay, number 1 from our Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
Yes,
Grayson McCall.
He was unreal. It was just unreal. He carried them. 26 TDs to just 3 picks, 69% completion percentage. Nice. Over 10 yards per pass attempt. And he's a dual threat. He had over 500 yards rushing as well. So he's pinpoint accuracy, just a gamer. He's tough as nails. He was the image or the face of that magical season, and just because of his magical play. Like, it was so fun. He wasn't like, even before the year, obviously nobody really knew him. Like, we didn't even know if he was going to be the starter. But just to come onto the scene like he did, incredible. I think he's the most efficient quarterback there is, and he can do it all. I think he was, he was definitely in we're going to do a top 15 list of national. This kid's going to be way up in there for me too. So I'm really high on Grayson McCall.
Yeah, hard to blame you. If he is able to repeat, he doesn't have to improve.
No.
He just has to repeat or get close to what he did last year, then your number 1 ranking here is not going to look bad at all. Mm-hmm. So we'll give our thoughts now, Trey and I, on your list here. I actually made my own G5 rankings before I saw your list, and it is eerily similar to what you have here. Like, the top 10 were, I think, like pretty much all the same guys. The only difference that I recall was Grant Gunnell, who is a transfer from Arizona to Memphis. Not even sure if he's going to be the starter at Memphis, but given the kind of lack of talent surrounding him at Arizona, I thought he played pretty well. I think he's a good quarterback. So
yeah,
put him in that Memphis system, and if he's the starter, I feel like he could get into this top 10. Other than that, I don't have a problem. Like, I know Dillon Gabriel is maybe the controversial one, having him 4th. I agonized where to put him. I would have him slotted 1, and then I'd slot him 3.
There's just so many. Those maybe 3 guys in front of him are so good. It's like, it's hard to,
It's hard. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with it.
It is very hard, and this is a very tough list to make. I really like Kaleb Eleby of Western Michigan. I know he loses Eskridge, but I could see him kind of competing with Crum as one of the top quarterback in the MAC. The other thing is McCall. I don't disagree with number 1. I'm just really curious as a fan to see how teams attack him in year 2 with some tape on him and on their offense, and with a couple pieces that they lose. But he's deserving of his ranking. It'll just be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And some honorable mentions I had, Nick Starkel, San Jose State, as
when I made the top 12,
year.
I forgot to do Notre Dame in there, and he was my 12th, and then I remember Notre Dame. I'm like, sorry, Starkel.
Yeah, we always forget Notre Dame in this. They don't feel like they should slot in with these schools, but Drew Plitt at Ball State as well.
Yeah, I also had a couple more. Hank Bachmeier, Boise's, could have a pretty good year depending on that, and Michael Pratt, the Tulane quarterback, he had a pretty good first year there. And then Gunnar Watson from Troy. It's tough. There was other great quarterbacks I'm not even mentioning that had really good years. So
one guy that is interesting to me, I wouldn't have put him in the list, but whoever's the starter at BYU, because they've got Jaron Hall, I think, is a slight favorite there. They also have
Is Romney still there?
Gunnar Romney. Yeah, he's the other guy in the battle. There might be someone I'm not thinking of, but I think those are the 2 main ones. But they both played like a little bit, not especially a couple years ago when they were kind of cycling through quarterbacks when Wilson was
Romney
injured.
really did.
Yeah, Romney played well, and I remember Jaron Hall had a good game, so wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys is up in this list.
Got a good tight end to throw to.
Yeah, that's for sure. That'll do it for our G5 and Independence episode. Next week, we are going to rank the best overall quarterbacks in the country, so that'll be coming in a few days. A few of these guys, like Ryan said, are going to show up on this list, so be sure to subscribe. Turn on notifications if you haven't already, so you always know when there's a new episode, and we'll talk to you soon.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.